I'm now at the entrance of the Japanese cemetery park. It says here 日本人墓地公园. You can also see a lizard at the side there. Now this is the entrance at Chuan Hoe Avenue. I took a bus from Tekka Center, bus 147, and it brings me to Serangoon North Avenue 1, and from there I walk towards Chuan Hoe Avenue, and now I'm at the entrance of the Japanese cemetery park. Now this was an old cemetery used for burial of the Japanese soldiers who died here, the Japanese prostitutes, and the early Japanese who came to Singapore. Now this is quite an interesting place. The gate is made of steel, and the cemetery stretches on both sides. It's about the size of 5 football fields. Very interesting place. On the left you can see all the statues, and then you have some Japanese statue on the left. I could see the sign of the swastika, and it says here Hinomoto Jijo Son. When the Pacific War ended in 1945, about 8,000 Japanese citizens who were living in Singapore evacuated to a camp which was set up in Jurong while waiting for the return vessels. I'm walking right into the cemetery. There are some stone benches here for visitors, but at this time of the day, it's about 11 AM. The weather is rather hot, and the trees are not very big, so there's not much shade around here. I'm right in the center of the Japanese cemetery, and there's also a rubber tree planted here. Now this cemetery was originally a rubber plantation. In 1891, the owner of the rubber plantation, Mr. Tagajiro Futaki, received permission from the British colonial government to convert the plantation to a cemetery. Only 5 rubber trees remain from the time of the plantation, and the largest tree has been designated a heritage tree since 2006. You can see all over, full of stones, statues. There are also some palm trees around here. There are some metal arches with all the creepers hanging over, and there are some purple flowers. I'm walking towards the main path, and here you can see another stone. So on the other side is also an arch pathway with a lot of flowers going on the top. Now next to the cemetery you can see some private houses, 2-story bungalows, and there's also on my right a tall condo 4-story sign. You can see all the tombs of the Japanese who were buried here long ago. It says here Takishiro Nishimura, 1871 to 1942, born in Kurume City, studied medicine at the University of Tokyo and came to Singapore in 1902. I could see some black butterflies flying around here, hovering over the air, and some Buddhist symbols here. Most of the words are in Japanese, and this small hut here is closed to visitors. I could read the words, the current Mido, a hall for prayers, is a third one which has been built. First Mido was built in 1911 by Bison Osho on his own as Shakyozan Sayuji Temple, which belonged to Sodo Zen Buddhism. Right in front of me you can see some bamboos, the peacock flowers. And right in the center there is a big tree. Perhaps this tree is more than 100 years old. Now at this time of the day, which is about 11:30 AM, there are very few visitors. And as you know, nobody likes to visit cemeteries except for more valiant souls like me. Now I come here to take a video. I don't disturb the dead, and I hope they will not disturb me. Then it says here, 平山正二之墓. Some tombs and also the statues. I'm not sure whether the descendants of the deceased are still around, but this place is maintained by the Japanese Association of Singapore. So they have employed someone to cut the grass to maintain the place. So although it's an old cemetery, it doesn't look so old and dilapidated or forsaken. So the residents around Chuan Hoe Avenue used to come here for their morning walks, or maybe a walk in the evening. And here there's another tomb that says in English, in loving memory of our beloved mother, Madam Murakami Wasa, who left us in 1950, aged 64 years. Now the rest of the tombs are rather old, and even the wording has faded, so I could not read any of the words here because the word has all faded. So next to the Japanese cemetery, you can see some private houses, big bungalows. I suppose these belong to the millionaires of Singapore. Very huge bungalows, as big as those in Binjai Park, so the value here should be at least 10 to 20 million. Now it's quiet here at this time of the day except for the chirping of birds, and all around I could see some banana trees. Very interesting place. And also you can see some flowers. Here are some flowers, the Bauhinia coqueada. And here another signboard written in Japanese. I could not read all the words, but it says here corporate donors, individual donors. So it's not a very big cemetery actually. And there's also a small hut here that with a drinks machine. So if you put in your coins, you can get a drink to quench your thirst. Right, you can finish walking around this place in maybe half an hour. Not much to see. Right, another old tomb. And it says Tagajiro Futaki, deceased in 1913. He was a former sailor. Tagajiro Futaki came to Singapore in 1888. He made a fortune from running brothels, sundry goods, business and rubber plantations. He was also the leader of the early Japan town in Singapore. And soon after he arrived, Futaki established the Mutual Self-Help Society with the objective of providing mutual assistance among the Japanese. So these are the early pioneers from Japan who came here to look after the interests of the Japanese settlers. Another memorial plate here, and then it says 重庆南洋会. It 1920年. Right in front of the hut, I could see a tall mango tree, at least 20-30 years old, and at this time the tree is bearing fruit, so I could see some green mangoes hanging down, but it's too high for me to pluck. So as this is not a very big cemetery, you can walk around here and finish looking perhaps in about 30 minutes. Not much to see. Maybe you can come here and take a morning jog to enjoy the fresh air. As you can see, some of the wordings are already faded, so they don't repaint the words, and therefore the words are hardly legible. And then as you can see, the palm leaves are strewn all over the ground, so you have to wait a day or two for the caretaker to come and clean up the place. Another old tomb here. Right, there's nothing much except old tombstones, and some of them are tilting at an angle of 45 degrees. So I suppose the descendants of the deceased are not around, so they don't come here to maintain the graves. So I'm now leaving the entrance, making my way out. I walk along the Chuan Hoe Avenue towards the bus stop.